So for those who, especially for those who, haven't really taken the time to read the UA, like myself, this will be useful. And for those who have, but are interested in hearing kind of our thoughts and opinions and reactions, this will hopefully be useful too.
There's none of these changes that I despise. Like, I just think they needed to go further.
My biggest feedback, I think, is going to be keep infusions, keep the infusions thing, but just let them work on
anything.
Yeah, on anything.
Yeah. No, I think you've
including
really
magic items.
I completely agree. Nice. Okay, we're in. Call B. Woo!
What's up, Will?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Nothing much. Nothing crazy. Getting ready for Christmas. You're going away, right? You got like you're getting out of there?
Yeah. We decided this year. Sorry, I'm in the middle of lunch. This is all content, by the way. This is like I'm not editing anything.
Yeah. It's the reason I'm here to watch you
eat. Feet pics later. I'm just gonna try and hit all the fetishes in one video. Yeah. So yeah, like we're going out of town for Christmas. We told our kids Christmas is canceled this year. We're taking all the money that we would have spent on your presents, and we're just gonna go on a little vacation somewhere. They had mixed responses, as you might imagine, to such an announcement. The younger they were, the more upset they were by the idea of not getting presents.
Kids are stupid, right? They don't understand the appeal. Yeah. They don't understand the appeal.
Come on. Oh, I'm realizing that I've got some lighting in the background. Let me move that. Okay. Maybe
what's the map of, by the way? Like, I hate to keep distracted, like getting off topic. What's the map? Is that like a fantasy map? Is that like a fantasy world? It's not like Lord of the Rings.
That's the Sword Coast. If you zoom in,
it is. Yeah, it's the D. Yeah, it's the D&D one. Yeah, I thought so.
If you zoom in,
I recognize that. I've seen that.
I just went on. I mean, you probably don't play. You're such a homebrew king. You probably don't play a lot of adventures in the Sword Coast. I play a lot of adventures in the Sword Coast, and it's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So I found this on Etsy. I just was like Googling map of the Sword Coast, and here it is in like 3 foot by 4 foot. I'm like, yeah, order that. That's amazing. I want that on my wall.
It is cool. Yeah. I got to get in that. I got to explore the actual source material at some point. As someone who really wants to play D&D himself one day.
I mean, D&D is what you want it to be, though, right? Like, I mean, why play in Baldur's Gate and fight Tiamat when you can be in Ryoku's world? I don't know.
There we go. Free sponsor. Thanks, man. Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. Well, we're talking about homebrew. We're talking about real stuff today, right? Because there's a new Artificer. So have you seen anything of the new Artificer yet?
No. Okay. And this is funny because yesterday, so Wizards put out the video, right? Like, just kind of announcing it. And I listened to it while I was at the gym yesterday. and that's it. Because I'm going out of town for like a week, I'm like, I'm trying to do 3 videos this week, not my normal content. They're just kind of short, other miscellaneous things that I've got going on. Anyways, trying to like get ahead, right? So you can leave. And so I haven't even taken the time to look at it. I just we were chatting on Discord, and I was like, oh man, like we ought to jump on and like record a video. And you're like, yeah, I'm kind of I kind of just recorded one. And I was like,
I literally had just finished one.
Okay, well, never mind. I didn't realize that you were putting that video out today. How do you edit that quickly? You are a nimble, agile. Like, you can just be so responsive.
I edit quick.
It takes me
it's
2
the
weeks.
Only thing I can do is you don't edit good, you edit fast, right? Like that's the scheme. It's all about speed in this game. To be fair though, it's actually kind of good because I recorded that video yesterday, so I edited today. But like in the 24 hours since, I've had time to like sit on some stuff, and already my opinions have kind of changed, especially after seeing some comments on my video. So it's actually, I think it's gonna be really interesting for you to get like the first reactions, and then me to kind of swoop in and be like, well, my comment section said this.
Yeah.
And then, like, it should actually be really interesting to see what you think. Because genuinely, my first impressions and my, like, even now have actually changed quite a lot on
Okay.
some stuff.
Well, that's good. So yeah, so what I wanted to do is just like actually like I've got the PDF pulled up in front of me here, and
Oh,
I
nice.
have
Okay.
not seen it at all. I've heard some things that Jeremy and Todd said on the video yesterday, and some of them got me a little bit excited, especially
Got you pumped.
the
New
new
PB on the.
the new armorer option, the mech.
Yes, that's definitely the
Um,
big thing. Quite literally.
but I was like, you know what? Let's just turn the camera on, kind of like we did. Oh gosh, it was a year and a half ago when we were still doing the Unearthed
I think that was
Arcana.
the first one we did. We done a couple. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was with the early UAs though. It was really
yeah,
fun. Yeah, it's been a
yeah.
long time.
So
Um,
let's just watch, and I'm coming in blind, and you're coming in with some thoughts, and so
yeah,
maybe
yeah, but they've done it like they do that nice thing now where they put all of the new stuff in a gray box, so we can kind of just go over.
yes.
We don't need to like go over all the stuff that's the same. Do you want to pull it on screen?
All right. Well,
Cool.
hopefully that looks good. Let's share this. And yeah, let's just kind of go through it. So for those who, especially for those who, haven't really taken the time to read the UA, like myself, this will be useful. And for those who have, but are interested in hearing kind of our thoughts and opinions and reactions, this will hopefully be useful too. So yeah, let's just jump in here. Artificer, a magical crafter and an inventor of wonders. Okay, we don't need the flavor text. Still have a D8 hit point die. Intelligence still their primary ability. Con and intelligence still their saving throw
Nice,
proficiencies,
nice to have.
making Artificer a really nice starting one level dip
Yeah,
for full casters, right?
yeah, beautiful Constitution proficiency,
Because you don't lose that spell
spell
slot
progression.
scaling, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, proficiencies, weapon proficiencies are simple, so it's not like they're giving them any kind of like martial weapon proficiencies, though I'm sure you could probably pick that up with some subclass stuff. Yeah, this all looks pretty standard. Um,
it's mostly the same at level 1. Yeah.
yeah,
In fact, you know what? I'll pull up the old one just on the side, just so I can
sure.
quickly reference back. But I'm pretty sure it's mostly the same at level 1.
Yeah, good idea. I'll pull it up
There
here
is. Oh
myself.
yeah, I should say in Tasha's actually there is an optional firearm proficiency rule in Tasha's, but that's not here. I
Right.
don't think so.
Well, and this was interesting because I actually just recorded my first 2024 firearms character. It's going to come out next week for those of you watching, at release or close to. Um, and yeah, like now firearms are now officially in the PHB, right, in 2024. But the gunner feat is not, and that presents some problems for people who can only use like 2024 rules. But anyways,
Are
sorry.
they just considered martial weapons now? I haven't
Yes,
looked at
yeah,
the firearms. Yeah,
they're
so just
martial ranged weapons.
so any fighter can pick up a gun.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
or
Yeah, yeah,
ranger or paladin, even for that matter.
yeah,
Um, barbarians, but I mean, you'd still be using your dex for
yeah. Of
attacking,
course,
right?
yeah,
Unless you were getting around that somehow, true strike or pact of the blade. If it were a magical firearm, you could bond it. Anyways,
yeah,
um, yeah, okay. I've got Artificer in front of me. Okay, the old one that is. So,
yeah. Um,
multi-classing, looks
it's the
pretty much the
same. Yeah,
same. Yeah, you get medium armor, shields, and then yeah, let's check out the gray text because this is going to highlight
this
like the
is the
main changes.
significant differences. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
magical
magical,
tinkering.
yeah,
Yeah,
go.
I want to get your thoughts on this because this is quite a cool uh optional feature. So it's been changed quite a lot. So the old magical tinkering let you kind of apply a prestidigitation effect to an object.
Right.
Whereas, I mean,
It'd
if
make
you
a
scroll down, you'll
sound, it'd
see
make
this.
a noise,
Yeah,
a
make a sound, make
light.
a light. A lot
Yeah.
like the rock gnome racial trait, if you
Right.
remember that.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas, yeah, check this one out. It's just at the bottom.
So you can create one item in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of yourself, and that's a lot of items. Um, you know what? That's going to be a lot more useful, but probably depending on your table, right? Like I can count probably on one hand the number of times where I've been in a campaign and it's like, oh, if only I had some rope. Rope
Yes.
maybe is the most common, right? But if only I had a block and tackle has never happened. Not to say that it
Yeah.
couldn't, right? And for somebody who's really creative, maybe they could think up a cool way to be like, you know what? Like, and I like that because the artificer is kind of supposed to be the engineer of D&D, right? And so if you want to play that character and really kind of lean into, let me try and solve problems not necessarily with spells or even with fighting, but like, what if we could get a pulley system going here with some ropes and we could, I mean, why not, right? And
The
and
the
and
ones
go ahead.
the ones that kind of jump out to me, just looking at this list, are the ball bearings, the caltrops, and the net, because the net is a weapon right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I suppose so is a crowbar, and I think there's probably some fun role play intimidation check you could do if you're having an argument and you just manifest a crowbar in your hand. I think
Sure,
that's probably quite intimidating.
sure.
Um, but caltrops are okay, aren't they? Like for low level, but
Yeah.
they trip you. I can't remember exactly what they do. They do some
I
damage,
think
and
they
they
slow you down and do damage. It's almost like a poor man's spike growth, I feel like, right?
yes, that's it. Yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
it reduces
so
walking speed by 10 feet. It's something, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. A lot of most of this stuff you probably have already if you've got an adventurer's kit or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but still, it's cool and probably more useful generally than, prestidigitation on an item. Um, so that's cool.
Flavor, yeah.
Um, spell casting, I'm guessing is probably the same.
It's
Oh,
the same.
now
Yeah.
now allows artificer to change one cantrip after each long rest. Yeah, they did mention that in the video. So sort of like the wizard, that's useful for sure. Infuse item has been redesigned and renamed to replicate magic
Yeah,
item.
this is probably
Okay,
that's
this
probably the
is the
first
big.
big, yeah, first big change.
Let's take a
So
look. So number of infusions, where did that go?
it's just magic. It's just called magic items now.
Or yeah,
So
not
it's
infusions.
plans
There we go.
known is the number that you
There we go.
know, and magic items is the number you can make.
Okay, so similar. It used to be four, yeah, you used to know four infusions and you could have two sort of active at any one time, right? So
Yeah,
looks like that's fairly similar. But then I want to see the items that you can create because this is the big one.
it's
So,
just below. I think it's just on the next page.
okay. And you can do
See.
it. Let me just check this. So when you finish a long rest, you can create one or two different magic items if you have Tinkerer's tools. If it requires attunement, you can attune it in the instant you create it. When you reach certain artificer levels specified, you can more, and then in the oldest one vanishes if you exceed your maximum number. Okay. Duration, and it just lasts forever, basically. Or, oh, and then if you die, it will vanish, but not until 1d4 days. That's kind of cool. Okay,
Yeah,
so at level 2 plus, alchemy jug, bag of holding, cap of water breathing, common magic item that isn't a potion, a scroll, or cursed. Um, Goggles of Night, Rope of Climbing, Sending Stones, Shield +1, Wand of Magic Detection, Wand of Secrets, Wand of the War Mage, and then Weapon +1. Okay, so good. I was a little nervous that we weren't going to get just sort of those basic kind of +1 shield, +1 weapon. Um, it is too bad because it used to be that enhanced armor, the enhanced armor infusion, I think it was called, would let
yeah,
you
that was its
add
own thing,
plus
wasn't it?
one
It was its,
to either a shield or armor, right? And so there's a chance that you already have a magic shield, maybe you've got a +1 shield, maybe you're dual wielding and or using a great sword and you don't want to use a shield, but you'd still like a benefit to your armor class. That's not going to be an option for you anymore at level 2. But
I
still,
think the +1 shield looks like the strongest one here to me,
yeah,
because that's quite a lot of AC. Like if you're in half plate with a +3 from your shield, maybe you even grab the shield spell via the magic initiate origin
sure.
feat. You can
Or your
very
subclass.
comfortably, yeah, or your subclass, yeah, at next level, yeah, even at level 2, you could very consistently be having like 24 AC, maybe even 25 if you're a total.
Yeah.
That's pretty meaty, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't suppose you'd have spotted this on the first read because it's like so easy to miss. But in the old rules, you used to be able to craft the same magic item twice if you wanted.
You just couldn't
So
use it, right? You'd have
no,
to.
you could literally you could take the replicate magic item infusion twice on the same magic item,
Oh,
and then
yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah,
make
yeah.
two.
Replicate magic item.
So,
Yes, yes.
yeah, so you could make two bags of holding on your own,
Right,
and then you can do bag of holding bomb shenanigans. They've
right.
actually changed it so you can't do it that anymore because it has to be
Yeah,
different magic items.
right.
Um, which
Well,
is
that's good
just a little
because
yeah.
what self-respecting DM would allow a magic holding a bag of holding bomb
Yeah,
on their
yeah,
level 2
yeah,
character?
exactly. To be honest, it is silly. It's funny, absolutely, but like it's way too strong, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
way
yeah, yeah.
too it's way too strong.
I'm trying to think like what we've maybe lost that I'm gonna miss here. So, I mean,
Yeah, let me check
because
the old the new one.
infuse items, I mean, there were things. Okay, now I got to find the old list.
There
Um,
are some
so
more further down that you can get as well, like at sixth level and stuff.
yeah, enhanced defense, right? Was the thing that would work on armor or a shield, and now it's just like a +1 shield. I know
That
that,
one
yeah,
used to increase.
Mind
Yeah,
Sharpener used to get right at level 2, and that is not available to us here. Am I wrong? Bag of Holding,
yeah.
water
Where is
breathing.
Mind Sharpener? It is here
I
somewhere.
heard that
I
it
remember
was
seeing.
available. Um, hmm,
Have I gone crazy? Let
I'm
me.
not seeing it. Rare armor, wand weapon.
Oh,
They
okay.
talked about it in the video.
Yes, yeah. The
Uh,
Mind Sharpener is now a magic ring
ah,
rather than infusion. It's an uncommon ring, so it's now at 10th level,
okay. Yeesh, yeah,
which is when
that's
you can make an uncommon ring. So they've changed the Mind Sharpener to a ring. What do you think? Because I've always said, actually, although I really like Mind Sharpener, I think it's a good example of something that's fun and it's fine. But in a vacuum, if we're just talking about things that are extremely powerful, the ability to automatically succeed on multiple concentration checks a day is actually quite fundamentally broken. Like it's actually breaking the system that the game makes sense.
sure.
I think it's a shame to lock it behind level 10, but actually in terms of like objective power, that might be a more appropriate place for it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very, very strong. And especially because, there are times where even if you have a very good concentration check, you've got proficiency in Constitution saving throws, a decent con, maybe advantage on your concentration checks via Warcaster or whatever,
yeah,
you might get crit, for I don't know, 40 damage or something like
yeah,
that,
it
right? And
doesn't
it's
matter.
like
Yeah,
I can't succeed on that unless I get a natural 20 or whatever. Um, and this is just like, actually, I can. Like, it doesn't matter how much damage I take, I can just succeed. And it's really good.
it
But
was Mind
yeah.
Sharpener was one. It was one of those features that I think YouTubers love because
Yeah.
it's very narratively exciting to be like, oh no, you can't fail. You can't fail.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not
yeah.
doing a build where you've got a really good chance of succeeding on keeping
It's
Wall of
just
Force. It's no, four
guaranteed.
times a day.
Yeah.
You are never failing.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's a shame to lose it for that reason, like selfishly, but
Sure,
it is a
sure,
shame.
sure. Now, what about so two big standouts to me were always repeating shot and the thrown weapon one. What was that called? That would just returning weapon. Those were
Yeah.
really great on like ranged weapon users and thrown weapon user builds. But I'm guessing that they're here somewhere, but I'm
Yeah, the
not seeing
repeating
them.
shot has been moved. So repeating shot is now covered by the level 6 because the repeating shot is now considered an uncommon weapon.
Uncommon. Got it. Got
Um,
it.
however,
Is the
you're
returning?
actually right. I didn't notice this. Oh no, returning weapon is the same. Okay, right at the very bottom of the document, they've got these magic items, and returning weapon is also now an uncommon magic item. So again, they
Got
used to
it.
be level 2, now they're level 6.
Got it. So you scroll down and you'll find kind of these new magic items that are being
Yeah, the
introduced.
very bottom, and yeah, there
Okay,
you've got
so
the
yeah,
mind
there's the
sharpener, the
Mind
uncommon ring.
Sharpener, Helm of Awareness, oh, the Boots of the Winding Path, um, Radiant Weapon, Repeating Shot, and Returning Weapon. Okay, good. Yeah, because see, the big problem, and I've done a number of like thrown weapon builds, for example, and the big problem with them, of course, is that, well, you're throwing a weapon and like what
It's
if
gone.
what if it's a magic weapon, right? Yeah, what if it's a plus
Yeah.
one hand axe that you're throwing? Well, I can only use it once and per combat, and
Yeah.
then I gotta
It
run
is the
over and
biggest.
retrieve it, right?
Yeah. Literally, it's the biggest problem with the. I mean, this is why it's so good to talk to you about this stuff because I actually missed that entirely on my review. Like, I didn't
Hmm,
even think about returning weapon, and
right.
it's actually such a good. I mean, I think that being at level 6 is actually quite a shame. Um,
Yeah,
because a 2 level investment for that feature is feasible on
right.
a build. If
Yeah,
unless you want to be an artificer with
right.
and to be honest, there isn't really an artificer subclass that particularly wants to be throwing weapons. Like it's much more of a rogue
Sure.
or rangery kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, or even
Uh,
barbarian. I mean, there's the case,
yeah.
especially like giant. But anyway, yeah.
Yes, of course. The giant has that magic axe anyway.
Or if
But
you're playing Baldur's Gate 3, take a drink for those playing the Baldur's Gate 3 drinking game at home. Sorry, that's a thing that
no, it's good
I'm
to stay hydrated.
always doing. um, and I guess the good news is, right, that like these are now, or at least, you know, if this goes through, gets out of UA, these are now like sort of officially magic items that can exist in the world. And so you don't necessarily have to be an artificer in order to get a returning weapon. You just have to have a DM that will allow you to craft it or will
Yeah.
give it to you as a reward, right?
It's
Um,
if you use the crafting rules, these are only 200 gold each, and
right.
that's very. I mean, and these are, and honestly, that I would be over the moon if I introduced those crafting rules and my players were like, "Yeah, I want a repeating shot." I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
For the horribly broken uncommon item options, this is actually very fair. I think that you're
And
right. That's a great use. Anyone can access them with the right DM.
the repeating shot is important too because well, I mentioned just a few minutes ago about how firearms are problematic right now in the game. They exist, but unlike Crossbow Expert, which allows you to ignore the loading property of crossbows only, there
Yeah,
is no, in 2024, there is no gunner feat, which allows you to ignore the loading property of firearms, right? And so you get extra attack. You can only make one attack with your firearm unless you can get access to that gunner feat. You know, you can use older content at your table, or in this case, you can get a repeating shot weapon, which is any simple or martial weapon with the ammunition property. So pistols and firearms would count. And then, yes, it would let you ignore the loading property, which means you can make multiple attacks now on your turn, as well as ignore ammunition, which is nice.
yeah. If you track it, you no one wants to, so there's a good excuse.
Yeah,
No.
that's true. Yeah.
That is
Um,
funny. Yeah, I suppose the GIF is the species that let you do that as well. I was thinking those
right,
hippos with guns.
right. That's true. But again, you'd need
Uh,
access to like
you
older
do need to be allowed to, yeah, to
content.
use old stuff.
And I get a lot of comments, you know, on my videos. I don't know about you, but like you know, I'm kind of all of my builds since August, since 2024 rules, you know, kind of officially came out with the player's handbook. I've just been saying, hey, I'm gonna do what Wizards has said we can and maybe should be doing, or at least, yeah. Anyways, which is use 2024 and use the older content too, because it's interesting
yes,
to me and
I
fun
see
and
them as as the same
yeah.
thing.
But
I think, yeah,
I do get people that are like, I can only use 2024 rules at my table. We've kind of decided that, you know, we can't use the older stuff. And I think even Chris, Treant Monk, is kind of going forward under that assumption. Like I'm only using 2024 stuff. And
I suppose different strokes, isn't it, for
yeah,
different
yeah,
folks?
yeah,
I personally, I think very much that I'm always trying to remind my audience that that it's just meant to be an option. I mean, that's how I see it. Is
sure.
they're just Wizards of the Coast are just another publisher who have given you a new option, and if you want to use it, you can, and you can mix and match anything you want.
Right.
But I can understand some people like to be very precise, don't they? They're very
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
this is what's this is what's correct.
And
Um,
I think especially for those who like maybe have been playing 5e since 2014, right? They're like, I want something different. Like
that's true.
I don't want as much as I love Blade Singers or whatever, right? Like I want to sort of be forced to make a different choice or whatever.
Yeah, it can motivate perhaps, and that would probably get you a lot more excited for
Yeah.
new stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because I think we're gonna have a few years where they kind of just re-release old stuff,
Sure.
like we're seeing now with the Artificer. It's like, hey, this
Sure.
was a thing before. Now here it is in new rules. If you've been using that old stuff anyway, maybe it's less exciting. But if you're focused up, this is probably huge for you.
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to say, and kind of the biggest thought that I've been thinking since, they put this video out and announced this change from infusions, it's like artificers are awesome in that you kind of have this guaranteed magic item, right? And there's not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to have a +1 weapon when you need a +1 weapon. But if you're an artificer, there is, right? And that's
Yeah.
nice. There's a couple things though. The thing that really used to bother me about the old infusion system was that it only worked on mundane items. So you couldn't take a +1 sword and add a +1 to it, right? It was like you could only take a mundane sword and turn it into a +1 sword. And it's like, well, what if I already
Yeah.
have a +1 sword? Well, make a bag of holding or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And
you can't even add a +1 to a sort of life stealing. Like you
right,
can't even.
right.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it's magical,
It's off the
then you
table.
can't
Yeah.
infuse it. And so it was almost like it looked better on paper than it actually ended up being most of the time in game, right? Because while sure, I could say, hey, we have a +1, at level 6 when we do our first damage report, right? Well, unlike any other build that I do, we've got a +1 to our hit and damage because we're an artificer. And it's like, yeah, but in reality, when I'm level 6, I probably have a +1 weapon at most tables. Do you
Anyway,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Or something equivalent. So it's like it looks better on paper than it actually is. By making it just a straight up magic item, now that's I mean, I like it more in that it's like, okay, you can just sort of create a magic item. I think my preference personally would have been you, to stay with the infusions, but you can infuse mundane and magic items if you want to. That way, like, hey, guess what? Like, because I'm an artificer, sort of specifically have this benefit of I can get a weapon that's +1 to hit and damage better than what I otherwise would have, or a shield that does, that's +1 to my AC
Yeah.
above and beyond what I may or may not have had. Like if I had a magic shield already, well, now it's even better, right? Like I wish that they would have allowed that because I think the reality is again at most tables and especially now with the crafting rules that they've updated, it's so much easier, it's easier than ever, right, to kind of get magic items assuming that your DM kind of allows to sort of play by those crafting rules that they've introduced. um it's almost like hmm it almost feels a little less special to me
No,
being
you're
an
right.
artificer because it's
Yeah,
like I can craft magic items but so can everybody else.
yeah, and that's kind of always been an artificer's problem is that ironically they feel better the fewer magic items are in your game.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
because the more magical your world is, the less special they are. And you're
right.
right. I think some kind of enchanting imagine like if these were enchantments that you applied to anything, it would probably be better. For some reason they seem to want to avoid that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't think it's that problematic as an idea because the DM would control what magic items the players got anyway.
right.
So you wouldn't be,
So
but
my
yeah.
my question and this my feelings about this become even stronger depending on whether or not artificers retained the ability to um, attune to more magic items than others. Do you know if that's still here? I'm just scrolling down.
Yes.
Magic item adept, level 10. You've achieved a profound understanding, granting you the following additional attunement. You can do it up to 4, right? Okay, good. And then expanded replication. When you learn a plan for your replicate magic item feature, you can now also choose from magic item plans. Artificer level 10 plus table. Um, yeah, because let's see, when did they get that at level 10 before? I think that's the
Yeah, I think
same,
it
isn't it?
always kind of grew across the game. Yeah,
Yeah,
10 it you can go oh wait, yeah, you can go up to 4 at level 10, 5 at level.
right.
Oh
Magic
no, it
item adept. Yeah.
just yeah, 5 at level 14. Yes, and then 6 at level 18.
Yeah.
Um
And
So
that's
you can attune to more and more of your own infusions or your own magic items. That's the point, isn't it? You know.
yeah, and that's important, I think. Like if they would have removed that, then I would be really upset about the fact
Yeah,
that we're
oh,
just
that's
crafting
like their
magic items
best
now.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's their best thing entirely.
because at the very least, it's like, okay, you can craft magic items. Well, so can everybody else. Yeah, but like it's maybe a little bit easier for me too, and I can kind of do it like as long as the DM is allowing artificers in our campaign, I can get these magic items regardless of whether they're on board with the crafting rule set that
Yeah,
they're going to give
or
us
whatever you've
access
got.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So there is that, but I'm assuming that at 90% of tables, right, people are going to be able to say, well, I really want to craft myself this specific magic item. And the DM will probably say, okay, you can do that. Maybe you need some downtime, maybe you need to try and, gather resources or whatever, but it's going to happen. And so it's almost like, well, now this sort of leg up, this advantage that the artificer has feels like not much of an advantage at all. But at the very least, if they can attune more magic items, then it's like, okay, like it's still like it does still feel like this is something unique to the artificers, sort of their ability to not only craft, but also use magic items. They're kind of better at it than anybody else. And so, yeah, I still wish that we had just infusions that could infuse items that were already magical to like further enhance them. But I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I think
Maybe yeah, if enough people leave that feedback, I don't think it would be broken. So I think it would be
I
fine.
don't think so either.
Um,
I don't think turning a +1 weapon into a +2 weapon, for example, right, would be would be so crazy powerful. I mean, if if you put that on a class who was really really good at martial capacity already, then maybe if you were a barbarian that was getting advantage on all of their attacks
and
and
then, but
rage
I mean,
damage bonus.
it's only a +1, and isn't that the point? Isn't that what they want to encourage? I mean, again, we're getting to that point where I think it's dangerous to assume that we understand what the designers'
Sure,
goals for the game are, because
sure.
I honestly I can't work it out. Like with the stuff that they release and the stuff they don't, I've got no idea what they think is healthy. But I think you'd be hard pushed to say that an artificer collaborating with a teammate to let that teammate really excel would ever be a bad thing,
Right.
like would ever be problematic. I think that's surely the heart and soul of the game. I think most people have a problem with power gaming when it's one player stealing the spotlight for themselves. But
Yes.
these collaborative kind of actions like that, I think would be wonderful. So yeah, maybe you can make the barbarian a +2 weapon, but awesome, like I think
Yeah.
that's the
That's
most
fantastic for
wonderful.
your team.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm realizing that I canceled my Zoom Pro account, and so it only lets me do 40 minutes at a time. So this is gonna shut
are
us
we gonna
off.
have to cut and then come back? Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy to
let's
if
do
you are.
that. This is what was making me laugh because when we were talking on Discord about do we want to go live? Do we want to like
Yeah,
record it?
it's true. We were like, oh man, we can't
I'm
go
like,
live. We got no tech skills at all. It's gonna be terrible.
I'm like, let's do a two-parter, part one on one channel and part two on the other. And you're like, I don't know, there's not a lot of content there. Like, I don't know if we get two parts out of a video. Will,
It's true.
you sweet
It's
summer
like a
child.
compulsory two. It's like a compulsory two-parter, or maybe a three-parter.
You
But
you
yeah,
have you have vastly underestimated my capacity to ramble. All right, what am I doing? What is it that you can see? Can you see the
I can see this. Yeah, you might want to cut that tiny last thing that popped up on screen. I don't know if you can legally show. I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I'll make sure to not I'll make sure to not show
Just
the
blur that.
monster manual,
Yeah.
the monster manual stuff that I had on my screen just now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited for that, though. I'm excited for your video on it. It'll be really fun. At
All
level
right.
3, obviously, you get your subclasses, which we always did. Yes.
Talk about
I'm
those in a
really
sec.
interested. Yeah, no worries. I'm really interested in what you think of the 6th level, because the other stuff is all the same. Just artisan's tools. But this drain magic item thing, this is new. So
As a bonus action,
what
you
do
can
you think?
touch a magic item within 5 feet of yourself that you created and cause it to vanish, converting its magical energy into a spell slot. Yeah, the slot is level 1 if it's common, level 2 if it's uncommon or rare. Once per day. I mean, I like it. It's similar to the wizard's arcane recovery. Is that what it's called?
Yes, it
Right.
gets you a quick spell. Well, it gets you a spell slot back, so
Though
you can actually do this even if you have all of your spell slots in
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is a little more costly in that you're, potentially giving up a
it
magic
is.
item, though you don't have to like take a short rest first to do it. So it's a little bit more like combat ready. I like it. I like the kind of the give and take. It's like you got to sacrifice, but maybe it's worth it. And maybe that magic item is a bag of holding. And what happens to all of your stuff if you choose to do that to the bag of holding?
Oh, they did actually include a little line about that. So
Did they?
if you lose a bag of holding, the stuff inside just appears. If the bag of holding disappears, the stuff inside just appears where it was.
Okay.
So you don't lose stuff. Obviously, if you cut open a bag of holding, it will still go to the astral plane or whatever.
Yeah.
What if I told you? So I saw this Dre magic item. I thought it was basically flavor. It's cute. It's not hurting anyone. And then my comment section said, "No, you're looking at this wrong. What you can do with this is create magic items that have uses, like wands of magic missiles or clockwork amulets. And then when the uses are done, when you've burned all the charges, you get a second level spell slot out of it.
Yeah, free spell slot.
It's just a free spell slot. And when you look at it that way, it's actually really quite good. Like it's just an extra second level spell slot a day. And you can get some good.
If you're if you're planning on creating an item with charges anyways, right?
Yeah, of course.
And
it makes those kind of items a little better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's cool. And I'm fine with that. That doesn't feel exploitative to me. I think it feels smart. And again, like, it's only really good if you use up all the charges first. So how many combat encounters are you having per day? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no,
but I thought it was very cute use of it. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. And then I was like, wow, that's a really good use of it.
Yeah. And then you can just recreate it tomorrow, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you just go again. And I don't mind the idea of the Artificer feeling a little more magical than maybe other half-casters, getting a bit more spell slots than the Ranger or something, or the Paladin.
Yeah, exactly. As half-casters, for sure.
Yeah, the slightly more magical side.
Let's look really quick at the plans that you get at level 6 now for magic items. So armor +1. So there's the armor. You can create magical armor. Boots of Elvenkind, Cloak of Elvenkind, Manta Ray. That's the one that lets you glide, right?
I think so, yeah.
Eyes of Charming. I don't remember what those are. I'm assuming they give you a bonus to your persuasion checks. And
things. You've got them in real life, bro. That's why you don't recognize them. Gotta look in a mirror, man. Okay, so the Manta Ray is a swim speed of 60 feet. Let's check the Eyes of Charming. But yeah, that seems... Yeah, okay, so the Eyes of Charming is just 3 times a day you can cast Charm Person.
Okay.
With a save DC of 13. So, unfortunately, it won't use your intelligence modifier, but whatever, it's not bad.
And then just any other uncommon armor, wand, or weapon that isn't cursed. Okay.
Yeah.
That
does include the Wand of Magic Missiles. I think it's the most notable uncommon wand that I can think of.
Sure.
Which is not as strong as it used to be, but yeah.
What's the best uncommon weapon that isn't cursed? Because +2 is rare, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're still not getting +2 anything. Probably you're not getting a flame tongue longsword or anything. I don't know. There's some stuff out there that I'm just not.
There's
vicious weapons uncommon.
Reddit says the Crystal Sword is very good, which I've never heard of.
I really like that you can do sort of those magic items that were introduced in Tasha's that are good for casters, right? That let you get like a +1 to your spell hit and your DC.
The Bloodwell Vial and the
yeah,
all of those. Yes,
they go up in rarity based on the bonus, right? But +1 was uncommon. So that's cool that you can now just create.
I think those are wondrous items though, so they would be only at level 10.
I think you're right. They're not,
But
yeah, they're
yeah,
not
there's
armor
some good
swans or
uncommon
weapons.
items. I think adamantine armor's uncommon. I think there's some armors that let you swim that are uncommon. You can, especially for like an armor or artificer that we'll see later, they can get a bit more out of this feature as well.
Right. Well,
Um,
and the nice thing is, there's like you can do, I mean, what by level 6 you can create five and or I mean, sorry, 5 plans and you can
5, and you can
have
have 3.
3. So, I mean, you could always, is it a long rest? You need to take a long rest, I'm assuming, to like
Yeah, it's
create
the end of a
them,
long
right?
rest. You make them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you get to a big lake that you're going to have to swim across or whatever, right? You
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
go,
Exactly.
well,
You
we
prep it
can't
for
go
the day.
now,
Yeah.
but like give me a night and I'll make 3, armors of swimming for everybody or whatever.
Yeah.
There's probably better ways to do that, but just thinking like
No, you
there's
completely.
some
I like
versatility,
features that let you plan ahead. Yeah.
right?
I mean, a Flash of Genius at level 7 as well is a classic, right? This is just a good feature that you can use as a reaction when someone fails now,
Mm-hmm.
which it used to be a reaction when they make the check. So it's
Right. That's
objectively
so much
better.
better.
Like you'll never waste this.
Right.
Um,
And anything that they've done with 2024 rules that does this, I'm always like cheering internally, right? Because
yeah,
there's nothing
just a
worse
threat.
than just like saying, I don't know if I'm going to need it, but I'm going to spend this resource just in case, and then you didn't need it.
They pass it anyway. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. That's very wasteful. I think most people, I certainly mistakenly have, as a DM, I've run this like guidance before. I was already doing this without even realizing. I was
Sure.
always like, "Do you want a flash of guidance that after they
Right,
fail?"
right,
I'd
right,
never
right.
called for
Right,
it before.
right.
Um,
Well, that's
but
because
yeah,
you're a good DM.
the ignorance is my greatest strength. It's like empowered me throughout my entire life. I've made a goddamn career on it.
Hey,
So yeah, it worked out
500
in this
500,000 subscribers. You're
in
doing
this
something other than just being ignorant, I think, my friend.
in this one situation. It did work out well with Flash of Genius. The irony, the Flash of Ignorance is like the
Yeah.
D&D Shorts level 7 feature. Um, but yeah,
So,
it's a good
okay,
feature. I mean, you can't complain.
it's really good. At level 10, you get just basically uncommon ring or wondrous item that isn't cursed. So there's no sort of new, unique to Artificer
It's just anything at
items
all.
here,
Yeah.
but that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, there's some really
And
good
you
uncommon
get
rings.
the additional attunement, which is huge.
Yeah, this is where it's. I think that's what. Yeah, that's one of my most. I think that I find that very exciting. The extra
Mhm.
attunement slots are really fun.
Yeah.
But yes,
Now,
this is the one I want to talk to you about the most. I was most
spell
excited
storing, the spell
Yeah,
storing item. It's the one
So
that
you-
when they said it on the video, I had to like stop what I was doing and being like, "Are you serious? Like
yeah,
third level spells?"
yeah.
Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon or one item that you can use as a spellcasting focus, store a spell in it, choosing level 1, 2, and now 3, according to the UA, Artificer spell that has a casting time of an action. And you don't even have to have the spell prepared while holding the object. A creature can take an
Yeah,
action to produce the spell's effect from it. So yeah, I mean the thing that you'd hear about a lot, and that I even would do in my builds sometimes, and that you probably have too, is like do this, give it to like your homunculus,
yeah,
right? Or
exactly.
your
Yeah,
familiar. And now that other thing can concentrate on a really good concentration spell. Seemed to be the most powerful thing to do. I mean, there were it didn't have to be a concentration spell. Cure wounds was always handy. There were other
that's
things,
it.
right?
Revivify even for emergencies. Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
Oh wait, sorry. Yes, I mean now revivify, but not anymore.
when
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But when you're talking, if you're doing that little shtick and you're saying, hey, now I can basically concentrate on 2 spells at a time with my with my artificer, but they were capped at one of them was capped at level 2. I mean, you're talking probably web, right? Some
yeah.
other
Dragon's breath.
right.
Pretty.
There's
They're
good
okay.
options, but they're not like wow. But level 3 spells is when spells start to really get, for the most part, like okay, this is super good, right?
They've got legs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
big
hypnotic
time.
pattern, fear. Now, sorry, I need to make sure that I know like what the artificer
Yeah,
spells are. So
this is just so people at home know. This is what like
haste.
prompted our discussion of this on Discord because I messaged Colby asking for his thoughts on what constitutes an artificer spell, because
Right.
there are each subclass gets their own artificer
Yes.
spell list as well. And
So
yeah, I mean, I'll let you go.
let's look initially at the just level 3 kind of core artificer spells. Blink, create food and water, dispel magic. That's nice. Elemental weapon could potentially be decent. Fly, always handy. Glyph of warding situationally. That's not an action to cast, is it? Or is it? I don't know. Anyways,
No, it's
haste.
not. Yeah, it's like in 8 hours or something.
I think
Yeah.
haste and revivify are maybe the standouts there. As far
Yeah.
as what you'd want to put in that ring. Giving somebody an
Yes, good.
extra attack
We should say as well, I
every.
don't know if we mentioned it, but you can cast that spell. Not cast that spell. You don't actually cast it. They create the spell's effect 10 times a day. It's 10 times you can get
Oh,
the spell out of that item. So this is
that's
10
a lot.
hastes. Yeah, per day, 10 hastes. Assuming you have
Whereas
max intelligence, which you should.
a, a level what, a level 11 artificer has how many third level spells? Three a day.
Three. Yeah. And now you've
So
got 13.
now you've got 13, and if one of them's haste. Now, as far as would subclass spells count? I have to believe they would. I mean,
It feels very targeted to not include them. You know, if you scroll, yeah, like you see here, Alchemist spells, like it's literally just like half a page down there. It's
when
like
you reach an artificer level specified hours, you always have the listed spells
spells
prepared, but it
prepared.
doesn't say, and these count
It's
as artificer spells for you, and blah 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 blah.
but they have done that in the past, haven't they? They have in the olden days. They did say that. They used to say if you got a warlock spell list, they'd say, and these are always counted as warlock spells for you. That's something they said. But
Yeah,
also, I think it's not. I think it's not an unreasonable thing for someone to say, "Hey, I can cast this spell as an artificer from my artificer spell list. Surely you would be able to infuse, like logically speaking, you would be able to infuse that in." And the reason why I think that's such an important question, such an interesting question, is there are some incredibly good spells here, like hypnotic pattern.
yeah, that's
10
what I'm looking
hypnotic
at right
patterns
now.
there, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I,
I think the artillerist has fireball, 10 fireball today. You know,
I
this is
mean,
huge damage.
so armor. So okay, let's just look at these really quick. Alchemists have gaseous form and mass healing word. Neither of those are going to be game breaking. Although, I mean, mass healing word 10 times a day.
It's a bonus
That's
action though, isn't it? So you can't steal that
Oh
one,
yeah, you're right.
unfortunately.
You're right. You're right.
Um,
Hypnotic pattern and lightning bolt, both good. Hypnotic pattern obviously being the huge standout there.
yeah,
And then let's see, artillerists are gonna get fireball and wind wall. Yeah, 10 fireballs a day.
they also get shield. And yeah, I
Mm,
want to bring something else up in a second, but remember that they get shield because I think that's genuinely something worth considering.
yeah.
Um,
And then aura of vitality for
oh, I can't
battlesmiths.
remember. Yeah, I
That's
can't
the
remember
that's
what that
the
does.
that's the 10 rounds, an extra 2d6 of healing. Um, and it's an
Oh
action to
yes,
cast,
it's an action to cast. Yeah, and then
but
it's a
then a
bonus
bonus
action.
action to use. And actually, that
So you
doesn't
can
even
have your homunculus
that doesn't
flying around
require
with that.
concentration anymore. Am I wrong? Maybe
No,
it
I don't think
does.
it does. Not with the new. Yeah, I can double check the 2024.
I think I think it does. I think it got a
Oh, it
different
does. Yes, it does.
it got a
Okay, yeah, it's still
different
concentration. Sadly,
it got a
yeah.
different benefit over the old rules.
Oh,
Target
it's
for
no longer a
elimination.
bonus action. Yes,
Right.
when you
There you
create
go.
the
It
aura
just
and at the start of each of your turns, it
yeah.
just happens.
Yeah.
2d6 to any creature you like.
So, I mean, that's really, really good. I I have a hard time believing that most tables wouldn't say your artificer subclass spells are artificer spells.
Yeah,
Um,
it seems very funny to not say that.
yeah,
But maybe for balance reasons, you
sure.
resent the opportunity, you know. But
For
like
hypnotic
hypnotic
pattern.
pattern every turn is a lot, right? Like if
That
your homunculus
is,
can throw it out for every turn,
yeah.
didn't work this turn. Okay, I'll just do it again next turn 10 times. That's a lot.
That
Um,
said, I mean, your DM is much more likely to try and kill your homunculus now, which I mean is
yeah,
fine, right? Again, people say stuff like that, like as though that was like, oh well, that's easy to counter. I'll just target your familiar,
homunculus.
which
Yeah,
you can do, but now at the very least, you're just sort of taking up an enemy's turn to try
resources,
and kill
yeah,
this one
damage
hit point little thing,
reaction
right? Like
economy.
that's
Yeah,
great for your party. Um, and of course, then there's ways to cheese it, right? Where you could say, well, like my homunculus casts a spell and then crawls in my backpack and
Yeah, full cover,
like,
exactly.
or whatever.
It is
Um,
pretty, and you can pass the tool around as well. So you can have haste in a dagger, and
sure.
it's your turn. You cast haste on yourself. You pass the dagger to the fighter. You go off and take your turn. The fighter casts haste on himself, passes it. You know, you can haste everybody or fly
Sure.
everybody.
Of
Um,
course, it takes an action to do
to
that.
cast,
And
yeah, to
so
activate. But in a
it kind
single
of
round, you can
becomes,
go. You could prepare. You could give everyone a fly
right.
speed in a single round. You can give everyone haste in a single round.
Sure.
Um, how's this for an idea though? You can use this to let barbarians cast, quote unquote, because they don't actually cast a spell. What they do is they use an action to produce the spell's effect from it.
Which is not the same
So
thing.
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So this way, barbarian, they can't concentrate, but they can activate
Right.
some spells.
So you couldn't do hypnotic pattern, but you could do fireball,
Yeah, the
right?
barbarian could do fireball. It's a real shame it has to have a casting time of an action, because that's what I was saying. It would be wonderful if the barbarian could cast shield. I always think that'd be such a fun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, has to be an action. But yeah, the barbarian with fireball, barbarians with jump. I mean, anything jump. You know, fun spells. I think
Sure.
that's a very interesting idea.
So
A tool to give a barbarian. You know.
so let's assume, for argument's sake, that subclass spells count. Is this overpowered? Have they gone too far? Should they reel this back to only be second level, or do you
Second.
think it's fine?
I, I mean, okay, so I think this is like quite an interesting. There's two questions. Is it overpowered? Compared to what other classes are doing at 11th level? I mean, maybe. I think it's fun, and I don't think it's going to ruin the game. I really
Yeah.
don't think it's going to ruin the game. I mean, but then again, I can understand people being like, man, the familiar is, the familiar is clutching a little dagger. It's a mouse with a little dagger. It's in your backpack. It scurries out. It casts fireball. It scurries back in every turn 10 times a day. That is a lot.
That's
That's a
awesome.
lot.
That is
Yeah, I
awesome.
know it's amazing, but like I can understand, and this is one of those things where we
Hmm.
need to kind of remind ourselves that like this game's about having fun.
Yeah.
It's not about like and it's funny to do silly things. I don't personally as a DM like I don't find that threatening to my fun at all. I've
Yeah.
never found it threatening to have players be really really strong. But I
I guess
understand that some DMs do,
I'm
and I
thinking
think
about
they
it
want to protect those DMs.
like compare an 11th level artificer to an 11th level wizard, right? Wizard has 6th level spells.
Yeah,
They can use, mass suggestion to probably single-handedly end a lot of combat encounters. Wall of Force,
yeah.
and and
And
and
they're
better
getting they
blasting spells if they want them.
just and just next level, like yeah, at seventh level, a level 11, maybe this is a big boost for Artificer, but by the
Sure,
time
sure.
level 13 comes around, that's really when the game goes
Yeah. Yeah.
unbelievable. Seventh level spells make this look like a joke. So
Yeah, so now compared to, I don't know, what about fighters? Well, fighters are getting that third extra attack, like they're doing pretty good damage. I mean, uh, I don't know. I feel like it's not that bad, but it does heavily depend on your subclass, right? For alchemists, it's kind of
yes,
like
that's
eh,
true.
but for
Yeah,
armorers, it's like, oh, this is really, really good.
it's
Um,
just a free upgrade to the armorer. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a shame actually that the alchemist, being the weakest subclass, also has the least obvious use for this. It's a shame because that would be a
And
nice buff to them.
and maybe Wizards comes out if this goes through, right? But they come out and say like they specify that subclass spells don't work for this, right? Now it's like, okay, well, I can dispel magic, I can blink, that's good. Well, but
Yeah,
blink only
Blink
works
is
on
not
yourself.
bad actually. Um,
Can you cast blink on
I'm
another
literally
person?
just checking that right
Or is
now.
it
Yeah,
just
I'm
yourself?
literally just checking. It is self, so you would have to
Okay.
hand the dagger around. Yeah, you couldn't do it from
Sure.
afar, but you could do it before combat.
Fly
It's not
is
it's not
handy.
concentration, and it's 1 minute, so you know That's something a
Even
barbarian
even
could do.
even just haste, because when I look at this, I think haste, like that's the one that I most want. But that's also because I tend to build characters who, like to make attacks in combat.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
fun spell. It's the one I think everyone
yeah,
is gonna zoom
yeah,
in
and
on.
so one extra attack per turn is great, but I mean it's not doesn't feel that game breaking, right? +2 to your
No,
AC, double your move
yeah,
speed. I mean, there's more than just the attack, so it's very, very good.
it's also it does have that downside though. Of course, haste it is a high risk.
Yeah,
I
if
mean,
you lose
everyone gangster
concentration,
until they throw like yeah, if the enemy throws down a dispel magic and you lose a turn, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, I think yeah maybe I think it's very strong if you allow the subclass spell lists. I
yes,
think it's very fun. I personally I would allow it. Right. I think it's certainly not broken if you don't. I don't think anyone's like third level is crazy if you don't allow those subclass spell lists.
yeah.
Um,
I
with
hope
them,
I
no.
hope it goes through. I hope it goes through because that to me is so good that I don't want a multi-class out of Artificer now. You know what I mean? Like I've done a million builds where I was taking a 3 level dip into armorer to get mostly to get the taunt. Like it's a perfect tank
Yes,
thing,
the gauntlets. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um,
Um,
and plus the Constitution saving throw proficiency and the heavy armor proficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a very good 3 level dip, or 5 if you need it for extra attack. But beyond that, I was kind of started to get like, there's not a lot on the horizon that excites me. Maybe until level 11, but that's a big investment. I'd rather do something else. But that's like 10 third level spells a day.
yeah,
You
you're
know?
right. You're completely right. It does give you a reason to stick around.
Yeah.
And I think half casting classes need that.
Yeah.
Um, and also level 11 for a lot of games is the final level. I know it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say how most people play. I wouldn't know, but it feels like the way people
Yeah.
speak online that most games don't reach level 20. They don't even reach level 13, but a lot of
Right.
them
Get to
get to
10. That's end game,
9,
maybe,
10,
right?
11.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's usually this for like the final. This is kind of like your capstone for a lot of types
Yeah,
of games,
sure.
and I think it's a good capstone at
And
that
it's
point. You know,
also the level that most classes get a big bump. Fighters get their third attack. Full casters get their 6 level spells.
yeah, monks now get their
Paladins,
three
right?
punches with flurry of blows. It's an extra
That
attack for
that
monks.
comes at 10 actually, but
Oh, is
at
that 10?
11,
Sorry. Yeah.
11 they do get a bump to their martial arts die. Um, I mean, and yeah, you paladins get their extra divine smite, like the bonus to every hit. Um,
Yeah, warlocks get their sixth level spell, their one off
yeah,
sixth
yeah.
level. Yeah,
So to give artificers something really cool and fun and powerful at level 11 feels on par. What do rangers get?
oh, the new ranger. Oh, they get kicked in the nuts. What do they get? They're the least favorite, that's for sure. 11th level, they get a subclass feature. They get tireless at 10th level, and
Yeah,
that's it.
well, that's okay.
Yeah, poor
That
guys.
was a fun that was really funny. Let's move on. Um, okay, so Magic Item Savant at 14, you get another
Five.
attunement.
Yeah,
Amazing. And then yeah, you can now do, I mean, what you can
I think
do
it's further
rare.
down. Sorry. Yeah, it's a
Oops.
couple more pages down. There, next one. Yeah, there, just above
Oh.
subclasses
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. There we go.
on the right. Yeah, it's a
Rare.
rare
Okay.
armor ring or wand or
Armor,
weapon.
ring, wand, weapon, or wondrous item. So basically anything, right?
Any rare thing, and
That's
yeah,
rare.
rare magic items. There are some wacky ones, right?
Really, really
Some
good ones.
really
Yeah.
really big.
Yeah.
Um,
Now you are level 14, so I mean you probably have a couple rare items or more, and maybe
yeah,
even
you should do.
maybe even a very rare or even a legendary. But still, because we can attune to 5 magic items, it's just like, hey, like a couple more rare magic items. Heck yeah, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
there's some really good things. Necklace of fireballs, even like to be honest, yeah, if you're worried about a familiar casting fireballs every turn at 11th level, you can make a necklace of fireballs at 14th level, and they can do
Right,
the
right,
exact
right,
same thing. So
right.
that's a fireball every turn for 7 turns instead of
Yeah.
10. So, um, yeah, I'm looking for it. There's
Now
some pretty good ones here.
18, 6 magic items. That's awesome. You get your epic boon. Okay, you know what? This is a tangent. but I feel like I gotta say it. I gotta talk about it with somebody. So it's gonna be
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I'm down.
Because when I was listen, because this isn't about the Artificer. I've had a long-standing argument with some of our peers, Chris, Triant Monk, among others, and we've even had this conversation on Discord about whether or not the epic boon is intended to be like a class feature or a character feature, right? Like once you're level 19 and you can take a feat, regardless of whether you're 19 in a single class, can you take an epic boon? And it seems like most people are saying yes, that you can, that it's not intended to be a class feature necessarily, even though it's listed as a class feature. And we don't
Yeah.
need to get into the rigmarole of the verbiage or whatever. I've tended to think that it's supposed to be like, no, you've got to be 19 levels in a class. And I think I'm in the minority there amongst rules lawyers. But
Yeah.
Jeremy Crawford yesterday in the video said, he very specifically said, like, I don't know, the way that he talked about it just kind of confirmed to me that the intent here was to be
That's your
19
truth.
levels in a
Yeah.
class.
No, I mean, I remember when we spoke about this because I was on your side 100% on this. I think when I read through this, I don't think there would be any doubt in my mind reading through a class that the 19th level would be epic boon, you gain a feat. It wouldn't occur to me that if I was sort of 16 levels in Artificer and 3 levels in Warlock, that I could pick an epic boon for my 4th level, then in Warlock on my 16th level. That wouldn't. The only reason I think people think that is because the epic boons themselves have prerequisite level 19 plus.
Yep.
And I think it's more likely that is a mistake, and what it should actually is a mistake. I mean, we're always talking what the designer's intent is irrelevant, right? It's what you want to play at your table. But I think what they intend actually is to say prerequisite level 19 in a class,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yes,
that's
I
how
think
I feel.
yeah, because I think it, apart from anything else, it epic boons are a good incentive not to multi-class,
right?
If you take it your way, but actually if you take it the other way, because some epic boons are so good that actually it's a huge incentive to multi-class. Like, yeah,
go 16 and 3, and then at 19 you get one, and then or whatever,
you get another, so you can get 2. That's so much, unless there are some that are very good, but there's a lot of 20th level features which aren't very good. You'd always rather do that, Sure. I think you're correct. I think that's the intention. But
at the end of the day, you're right. People can play it however they want to.
Yeah, however they want. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't worry too much about what the designers want you to do, or what they, it's what you want to do, and they're just trying to help. They're just trying to help you have fun, right? So, but yeah, as far as it goes, I think your interpretation is the one that I left with. It never even occurred to me until you mentioned it, that people might be taking 16 levels and 3 levels to get extra epic,
or 15 and 3, and then you get 1, and then at level 20 you get another. Yeah, you get 2. Okay, Soul of Artifice, level 20. We haven't even got to the subclasses yet. Gosh dang it.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we've got.
Here we go.
To talk
the
about
capstone. Following benefits: cheat death. If you're used to 0 but not killed, you can disintegrate an uncommon or rare magic item created, and changing your hit points to 20 instead of 0. That's something. Jeremy mentioned this in the video. He's like, we don't want to just give you 1 hit point because then you're going to die anyways. But if you're level 20 hit points isn't that much either.
Yeah, it's not. You might survive 1 extra attack, of a multi-attack maybe.
But I mean, I'm looking.
Although I wouldn't even say that. If it's the Tarrasque, it's doing way more than 20. You get hit for like 35, 40 hit points a hit. So yeah, maybe not.
I'm looking at the monster manual, and the CR 20 and above monsters they're hitting
a lot
hard. So, which is a good thing, but it feels like maybe it needs to be 40, but still it's something, and it might be enough. Magical guidance: when you have attunement to at least 1 magic item, you can add 1d6 to any ability check you make. You decide to add the die after rolling the d20, and you can use this benefit once per turn. So you just have to have attunement to at least 1 magical item at level 20. That feels pretty likely.
Yes,
and that's better than the +1 bonus to all saves per actually.
Yeah, so the old one used to be a +6 to every saving throw, essentially, if you're fully kitted out. which is
Which you probably are at level 20, right?
oh, I
So
would be amazed. I mean, you can make 6 things for yourself. If
yeah.
you know, even if there's no magic items in the game, you can be in 6 things.
So that feels
So
like a nerf.
yeah.
If you reduce to 0 hit points, you get one instead of okay. So it's basically the same. It's just you get 20 hit points and you get a D6 instead of up to 6.
But this is
Yeah.
only on ability checks. It's not even on saving throws. Um,
Did I read that wrong?
so
Disintegrate one of those. No. Magic goes 2 means 3 any ability check you make. Oh, that feels like a really bad capstone now.
yeah, oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
I think it's awful.
Yeah.
Because, and even worse in 2024 when grapple isn't even you know, there aren't even ability checks anymore. Like there are fewer and fewer ability checks in this new system.
Right. Yeah, give me the old one, please.
Yeah.
I think they need to revert that. I mean, keep the buff, of 20 hit
20,
points,
yeah.
but
Or
actually
40, yeah.
maybe make it 40, yeah. And and then keep that +1 to saves. I mean,
Yeah.
heck, make it saves and ability checks if you really want me
Yeah,
to
why
have a
not?
bonus to my
Yeah.
ability checks. Or at the very least, like make it a D6 to saves and
Yeah, but
ability
yeah.
checks.
You could even make it a roll a die faces equal to the number of magic items you have. So you could be a D6, a D5, because they do that now. They've done a
Yeah,
D3
sure.
before. They've let you roll in impossible dice. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think this is there's a funny habit they have of like some of Capstone's features just not being balanced against each other at all.
Right.
That's always surprised me. I'm like, I'm like, I would always like look at the barbarian, look at the monk.
Yes.
That's our baseline.
That's a capstone. Yep.
Yeah, that's let's make them all like that.
Yeah.
It's funny how some are so much worse.
How somehow they get to the ranger and go, yeah, D10 on Hunter's Mark. That feels
that's it.
equally as good as
Yeah.
like a +4 to your most important ability scores.
Yeah, it's yeah, it is very fun. I don't know why they do that. I mean, but I guess you, if anyone wants to know, you can ask them, right? You could one day if you ever catch them, you'd be like, hey,
Sure.
Why do you hate the ranger?
Hey, JC.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Alchemist then. Which I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but to me, this was always very clearly the weakest.
Yes.
I liked it a lot actually, but it always felt you had to work very hard to make the Alchemist good.
Yes.
Unlike the other.
Alchemist, I think I used Alchemist in maybe 2 of my 190 something builds that I've done on the channel so far. And they were both sort of very intentionally like, okay, this is a little underpowered, but a cool concept. And let's like make it the best that we can kind of thing, as opposed to we're going to make this amazingly powerful character, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's fine. Like I enjoy doing that, as I'm sure you do as well, right? Is like taking something that sort of feels challenging mechanically to be good, right? And to try and find a way to make it, decent or viable. And the Alchemist was always the Alchemist and the Artillerist, frankly, I always thought, were kind of at the bottom of the barrel for Artificer subclasses, and then Armor and Battlesmith.
I think not only because they're both very good, but actually because they both multi-class so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can see what's different here. They get Blight instead of. Blight is replaced with Vitriolic Sphere.
Okay, that's that new spell that does Vitriolic Sphere. I need to remember what that is. It's okay. Here we go. It is it's a 4th level spell. Action to cast. It's just it's a fireball of acid.
Acid. I was gonna say, it's very much an acid fireball. Yeah.
10d4 damage, so comparable damage to 8d6, but then another 5d4 at the end of their next turn. But that's of course if they fail a dex save and it's acid. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's 4th level, but it's more damage than a 4th level fireball would do if you can wait a turn.
And acid is probably a better damage type
than fire,
than a fireball. But yes, you do lose that. You lose the velocity, right? You don't get the burst of damage, which it might be more damage, but if it gives them an extra turn that fireball wouldn't have done, it's worse.
And it's not as good,
But acid is probably better than fire
Yeah.
less resisted damage type. I would guess.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers, but
Okay, then tool proficiency. Okay, you can craft potions faster. Um, okay, brew a potion using the crafting
that's
rules in the Dungeon
if you're
Master's
using
Guide.
the new.
Halved. I don't know how you know the crafting rules better than I do. How long does
I
it
don't
take you to make
remember
a
the I
potion?
don't remember the potion crafting. Here we go. Crafting.
It feels to me like that's more ribbon than anything. Like if you're taking the time
Yes,
to craft a magic
I
item,
remembered talking about potions, and I can't pull up the exact, but I remember identifying it as solidly middling. It's just
yeah,
not as it was far less exciting than the magic item options, like the
right.
enspelled armor and
Right.
weapons. That's where the
And
meat
and
was.
and there are some good potions. I mean, grow to large size and do an extra D4 of damage. You can go invisible. I mean, you can heal obviously, but like yeah, there's plenty of like useful and good cool things about that, but I almost wish that it was like you can get a number of them maybe per long rest, like for free or like as an action. It just seems to me, I had a conversation with Monty and Kelly about this recently when I was out in Toronto. It was off camera, but we were kind of talking about like, they were looking for feedback on something that they were putting into one of their books. And I think it was a spell. I won't give away details here, but it was like either going to be a 10-minute duration or an hour duration. And I was kind of like, to me, that's the same thing. Like, and I know
Yes.
that it won't always be at every table, every day, every adventuring day, but like for the vast majority of us, I think it's like something either lasts one combat encounter or it lasts for an entire day. And there's not often a lot in between. Maybe 8 hours. 8 hours, you're going to get, multiple uses out of it. An hour, not often.
Yeah.
Do
You're right.
I anyways have like a combat encounter that's within 10 minutes of itself, let alone within an hour. Once in a while, maybe sure, but like I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, so in that vein, it's almost like if we're taking the time to craft a magic item, like if it takes 2 hours instead of 4 hours, it makes no difference at all to me,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Even if it takes a week versus 2 weeks,
right,
you're presumably just downtiming
right,
that time. So
right.
like, what's the difference between okay, we're going to fast forward 2 weeks or 1 week? Often,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
little.
yeah.
Um.
So
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 yeah.
so let me do one a day as an action or something. Or even like after a short rest. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that is
Um,
kind of what we get with the elixirs. So that's actually kind of leads into
yeah,
the elixirs now, which is the next thing. So it says it produces more elixirs and the
more
healing elixirs.
elixirs.
Yeah, we will see
Healing
the
is
healing
increased. Sixth row of the
to
table now
two
lets you
healing.
choose an elixir's effect. That's nice. Because yeah, that experimental elixir like was cool in concept, but pretty weak mechanically. So
Yeah.
2d8 plus your intelligence modifier, that's essentially a first level cure wound spell. I mean,
A lot of these
cure
basically
wounds
are
is
first
better.
level.
Cure wounds is better than it
Yes.
used to be. So, that's nice, but like doesn't feel like
You
enough
can
to
already
me.
cast cure wounds
Yeah,
because this class can create their elixirs with first level spell slots as well, and you get to
right,
choose them. But
right.
there's little point in creating an elixir with a first level spell slot rather than just casting cure wounds. I suppose that anyone can apply
The,
the
the
potion,
the
and it's a
the
bonus
nice
action to
thing,
drink
yeah,
now.
exactly.
That's the
You
main
can
thing.
bonus
Yeah.
action to drink, so instead of an action, so that's nice. And yeah, you can sort of dole them out, so that they can use them without you. Maybe you already use your action, or maybe you can't get in range to use cure wounds. I still wish it were a little better. Maybe double my intelligence modifier, or like add my artificer level to the healing.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
There is a feature coming up that kind of does something like that actually. But I think this is one where I always thought the +1 AC bonus that's not too bad. Fly speed for 10 feet is very hard to really get the most out of in combat, but maybe it can do
yeah,
something. But I always think that the long strider effect is very it's definitely the one you're not hoping for, right? You're just 10
sure,
foot movement speed for an hour,
yeah,
not even all
yeah.
day. Um,
Yeah, the AC bonus is the same. Boldness.
That's kind of a
D4.
bless effect on one
Yeah,
person.
that's the same. Um,
So
Flight
what did they
is
take
great, but
away? So
that's
they
the
presumably
same.
they took one out to
Transformation.
make room for number six.
Oh,
Didn't-
transformation. It was like the alter self spell. So you kind of got a Jekyll and Hyde thing going. You drink the potion
Oh,
and
okay.
you know. Um, and yeah, like that was sort of arguably the weakest or the one that like, I mean, maybe it was okay if you built around it, but otherwise worthless. And
Yeah.
now you just get to choose the effect.
You
But
get
you
to choose one of
already
the others.
don't you get to choose the effect as an
You
extra
get to choose. This is it. This is why I don't think this
if you
subclass
use
makes
a
a lot of
spell slot.
sense. Yeah, it's only random when you get two for free every morning, basically,
Hmm.
and those are the only ones that are ever random.
Right.
So personally, I would just let you them always check. I say in
Yeah.
my video, what kind of I mean, I always joke that this is the drug dealer subclass, right? Like you're cooking up steroids, and I was like, what kind of what kind of drug dealer doesn't know what they're making? I wouldn't, if I was buying steroids, there's no way I would trust someone who is like, yeah, this is probably gonna make you faster, but it might also make you fly. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
stuffed some random chemicals together this morning, but trust me,
It-
bro.
It's like
Um,
I could really use, a plus D4 to my attacks and saves. Yeah, I mean the bless spell without concentration, that's awesome.
yeah,
And I think when I built specifically built around the Alchemist, I used that as saying like, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna cast bless. So now, we're getting
then you yeah
2D4 to all
stack
of
on
our
a peace
attacks,
cleric
and
as
that's
well, right? Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Um,
amazing. But you got to drink it and then you got to cast the spell and concentrate. It's not like easy to just sort of start combat and have an extra 2D4 on everything. But uh, I feel like I think boldness is good as is. I think the rest of these could use a buff. Give me a little more healing. It's 10 feet of move speed. And again, increase the duration. Like let it last for a day. Why not? Like a +1 to AC
yeah,
for
why
for a
not a
day
day?
is good. Again, Baldur's Gate 3, take a drink. Like I love this. One of my favorite things about that game is that every like buff either lasts for a combat encounter or an entire until you take a long rest. Everything. And like that's how it should be. Like don't make me like, okay, I cast aid. Great. What time is it? 10 a.m. Okay, good to know because it's going to run out in 8 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or an hour or 10 minutes or whatever. It's like just get rid of the finickiness of like the timing on things. And so just simplify it and streamline it so I can just know okay, this thing that I'm casting is going to last for this combat encounter, or it's going to last the whole day, and I don't need to worry about it. And if in order to get there, you need to nerf the effects of some things, because making it last for an entire day is too strong, but making it last for an hour is fine. Then fine, scale back the power if you have to, and just let it go for the day. That's my little
yeah. You're
soapbox.
you're completely right. I don't know any DM who's ever being like, oh, I think it's kind of you'd kind of be a jerk, like to be like, oh, by the way, it's 6:05, so your
Yeah,
mage
it's
armor
five
is gone.
minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
if
like,
you
oh,
would
just
have if
by
you
the
would
way,
have cut
yeah,
the villain off from his monologue, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because that's what you're doing. You're like, wait, what time is it? Well, I don't know. It's like 5-ish. Okay, is it 5 or is it like 5:45? Because if it's 5:45, like I'm gonna just attack, or whatever.
No,
That's
you're right.
that.
Yeah, it should last all day. I mean, but in practice, it does, right? I always think if something if everyone is ruling against the rules as written anyway, like they do with mage armor, no one's recasting mage armor throughout the day. Then you may
Sure.
as well just have it last all day.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but what do you think to the idea? This is what I suggested in the video when I was like looking through this. If I was fixing this subclass, if they called me and asked me to fix the alchemist, I would have the experimental elixirs grow in potency depending on the level of the spell slot you invest. So
Yeah,
if you use a first level spell slot, you get a 10-foot fly speed. But
sure.
if you second, it's 20, third, it's 30, or maybe
Yeah.
even 20, 40, 60,
And the AC bonus is +1 with the
yeah,
first level,
plus
plus
one, plus
two, plus
yeah,
three.
+3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that would be a way to make this kind of something that it needs a bit more sizzle. I always think it just
Yeah.
feels so like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah,
all right. Well, let's look at the rest of it here. Alchemical Savant. Gain a bonus to one roll of the spell. That roll must restore hit points or be a damage roll that deals fire, acid, necrotic, or poison. Bonus equals your intelligence modifier. This is
I think
the
that's as it
same.
used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the same. And you know what? This is not a bad feature, I think. I
No.
wish I wish they I wish they wouldn't have that whenever you use your alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus, because that can get finicky.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even clock yet, but what a pointless restriction. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's only there
sometimes,
to stop the flavor.
yeah,
Oh, I've got this
some
wonderful concept for a character where I cast out of my spear, and they're like, no. It's like, why not?
right.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you might not have a material component for a
Yeah.
spell. And so
Yeah, so
now,
you need the
even though
focus.
it's
Yeah.
an alchemist spell, it doesn't count, right? Or and you know, it feels to me like they've done it to sort of prevent multiclassing from benefiting. Like, you know, you can't get 5 levels in alchemist and then go full wizard and now everything like gets these bonuses. Um, but
Yeah.
you can get there. You just have to do some weird things. I remember building around this once, and you really had to get sort of creative and like, well, if you take this feat, then now I can use this feature to add a little bonus to my fireball or whatever. And it's just like, just let it, just let it go. Just
Yeah, this is always one of those. It isn't a bad feature because it's not once per turn. It's this. There's whenever they print anything like this, I'm always waiting for the day where they accidentally print something that lets you change the damage type of Eldritch Blast to fire. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
because then it's like plus
Sure.
20 damage every turn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's not bad. I mean, you add +5 to your acid fireball, right? And if it hits 5 enemies, that's 25 extra damage.
Hmm.
Um, it's not bad.
Yeah, it
Um,
isn't.
and
I wish they'd get rid of the
yeah,
alchemist
the alchemist
supplies as the
supplies.
spell
Yeah.
casting focus. If you want it to be an alchemist spell, just say it has to be an alchemist or like an artificer or
Spell.
alchemist spell or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. But speaking of stuff that isn't bad, actually, I think this fortify feature is pretty good healing. We were talking about healing before. I think this is kind of achieves that.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever a creature drinks, creature gains temporary hit points equal to your intelligence modifier plus your artificer level. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah, because you can drink them as a bonus action, and you can throw out quite comfortably like 10 of these a day if you're willing to burn your 4 first level spells and you get 3 for free. I think you
Right.
get, yeah, so 7. That's like 14 temporary hit points on top of another effect 7 times a day is
Yeah, I mean, it used to be 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier.
that was like
So
12.
now
Okay,
I mean,
it
it's,
scales better into the later game.
yeah, yeah, it does. It scales a little better. It's a little better initially, and then it scales better. Um, Restore less restoration without a spell slot and without preparing the spell. Um, that's the same, right?
Yeah,
Provided
I
you use
think so.
alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus. And I guess that's why they're doing that because they want to flavor it like you're mixing a potion, right? And
Yes,
it's
I guess
you're
that makes
not
sense.
waving your magic wand, you are an alchemist, and so you're creating, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, you can do so a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. Yeah, that's all the same. This is funny to me because Jeremy Crawford sort of like admitted to alchemists being known as like the weakest subclass, I feel, in the video. I'm pretty sure he said something along those lines. And right now, to
They
so
haven't
far,
had
I'm just
much.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
you
No,
didn't do a
I
lot to buff them.
I mean, we can talk about this at the end, but I think the biggest problem with this Unearthed Arcana, and we'll see, the Armorer is a bad example because there's something quite cool in the Armorer that I
Yeah, yeah,
really want to
yeah.
get your opinions on. But for this and the other subclasses, there isn't really much here that's like risky or innovative.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
I personally haven't. This is the time. I always think Unearthed Arcana is the time to really throw
Go
out the
big.
rulebook and
Yeah,
try something. Try
yeah.
something that maybe it's crazy overpowered, but let's have fun with it. This feels like they're changing the absolute minimum they possibly can, and they're seeing like, will people buy this? It's like, no, let's knock the dial way up, and
Yeah.
then pull it back is,
and
is how
then
I would
pull it
prefer
back.
they did it.
I appreciate that you don't want to. It always feels worse from a player perspective to see something get nerfed, right? Like to be like,
Yes.
oh, the Unearthed Arcana is amazing, and it's like actually we went too far, so we're gonna scale it back for release. That feels like oh, as opposed to like they go small in the Unearthed Arcana and then they make it better for
Push it
release.
further.
That usually has a more like, oh yay, like I'm gonna buy this book now.
And that's
So
true.
I can kind of
Yeah,
get where they're
that's a
coming
really
from,
good point. I'd never
but
consider, and I will also say as well, they unfortunately, right, they have deadlines that are way
yeah,
more aggressive than the deadlines that like homebrew creators like myself have. Like we take the time that we need. Like I don't think they have time to run this back.
sure,
I'm guessing the book this is going out in is probably coming out in early 2026. And I'm
yeah,
guessing that they need to have it at the printers ready to go by like
the
March.
summer,
So
yeah, or something, yeah,
yeah. Like knowing what I know about their production might be faster than my production, but so they probably don't have time to be like, let's go crazy, get the feedback,
fine
do
tune
another
it,
one, get the feedback and
yeah,
finish it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
they've
yeah.
basically got to get it right the second time, which
One
might
round.
mean that yeah, they might not be able to really explore. Which
Well,
is,
and
that's not our fault, right? Like
yeah,
they make books like that, but it is a practical concern, right? They've got
yeah.
their profit. They don't have time. Um,
The level 15 feature is good. It's better. You get an extra 2d8 force damage on your acid, fire, necrotic, or
yeah,
poison
that's entirely new.
spells, and that's pretty good. The chemical resistance is the same. The Conjured Cauldron. So instead of a free Greater Restoration and Heal, you get a free Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron. That's a 6th level spell. It's a good spell, I think, and
Yeah,
very on point thematically.
I might have
Um,
been underrating Tasha's bubbling cauldron, because it's uncommon potions, right? And I was
yeah.
like, there's the giant strength one that gives you 19 strength, and there's the
Hmm.
potions of resistance. I mean, that's probably enough, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
everyone can grab fire resistance or whatever if you're fighting a dragon.
you can get enlarge. You can get enlarge, so you can grow to
You
large
can,
size and get an extra
yeah, D4 damage.
D4 on all of your attacks. You can, I feel like there was another one. Is invisibility
Yeah, I'll
uh
just check.
rare? Anyways,
Oh, okay, shit. Yeah, it's a shame potion of speed is rare. That would be really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
invisibility is rare as well. Never mind.
Okay. So, but I mean, you get a number of them and they last for ever, and you can dole them out amongst friends. So I mean there's utility there. Greater restoration and heal though, it's probably better.
Yes, I
heal
really liked, and
heal
I
is
for
really
some
good,
reason I
and
thought it was
greater
harm and
restoration is
heal
useful.
initially, but
uh,
yes, greater restoration is really useful, and heal is a fantastic healing spell.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and
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 that's a 6th level spell too, so it's not like they're doing anything
yeah,
crazy here by giving them a
yeah,
6th level spell. Still I think I like it better overall, especially the extra damage
it's a
bonus.
nice theme as well, isn't it? Tasha's bubbling
but
cauldron is very on theme, very
but
flavorful.
but
You can respect that decision, I think.
Yeah. If we were to just compare like this new Alchemist to the old existing other subclasses, 2020
Oh, 20,
versions of subclasses,
yes,
the Alchemist would still be the weakest,
yeah,
right?
but it is honestly the biggest change is just that you can drink the potions as a bonus
As
action.
a bonus
Like
action, that helps a lot. It
yeah,
does. You're right.
because honestly, the alchemist, unless you homebrewed that to which I think most people did, it was almost unusable, right? To take an
Yeah.
action off in combat to get +10 to your movement speed. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
anyway, yeah, this
But
is the most.
they need to buff
Yeah.
it.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the armor. Yeah, I think it could use more, but I really want to. Yeah, this is
Armor
probably the
is
most exciting thing. Here is the
already
new.
already my favorite artificer subclass by a lot, by a large margin. So, and it looks like they got a really fun new tool.
They did, yeah.
So okay, tools of the trade now allows the artificer to craft armor faster. Again, whatever. Armor model includes a new armor option, dreadnought. We'll get into the details there. Armor modifications has been replaced by a new feature armor replication. Okay, and then perfected armor now increases the damage of your thunder gauntlets and lightning launchers. That's nice because that was one kind of drawback there.
They stay at
Anytime,
1d
yeah,
across the
anytime
board.
you
Yeah,
get something that sort of is like this innate weapon, whether you're a soul knife rogue or what have you, it was the challenge is magic items exist in the game, right? And
yeah,
so it's like if you don't let this innate weapon that you're giving me sort of scale, kind of at least sort of in line with what's probable, magic item wise at your table, then it sort of becomes the worse option. And now I have a worthless feature.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they do a good job. If I remember correctly, they just add another damage dice. It's quite late. It's like level 15, I think. So maybe
okay.
it will tail for a little bit, but it's nice.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
Well, and okay, let's get into it and I can
yeah, you'll see the new.
wax
So the
on.
others are the same. I really like the Guardian with the punchy thing,
Yes.
but everything else is
Yes.
identical. I
Those
think the
spells are super good.
yeah, some good ones here.
Um, you wish you had the shield spell, but maybe they figure,
Yeah, you
you,
can
you
grab it
can
via
get your
magic
AC high
initiate
enough. Yeah, and you can get
if you
magic
have to as
initiate.
well.
Okay, so arcane
Um,
armor, again, no strength requirement. That's so nice. You can wear
yes, isn't it
plate
just? Yeah, yeah,
and just
lovely.
quick on and off, second skin. Yeah, these things are all kind of the same. Spellcasting focus, great. Armor model. Okay, and you still can choose. So, I mean, you could be a dreadnought one day and a guardian the next, right? Which is
Yeah, I
one of my
think
favorite
it's
things.
a short
Short
rest
or
even.
long. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you can go infiltrating. Oh, we got to
In the middle
sneak
of
it
the
in here.
day. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 1 hour and we're ready to go.
Love it. Okay, so let's look at the Dreadnought. You design your armor to become a towering juggernaut in battle. It has the following features. Armor flail. An iron ball on a chain appears on one of your armor's gauntlets and has the following traits. Simple melee weapon, a D10 bludgeoning, plus the ability modifier used for the attack roll. I'm assuming that can be intelligence, or am I
Yep,
wrong?
yeah.
Okay.
No, it is. Yeah, it can be intelligence.
Oh, yeah, because it says that earlier, that
Yeah, yeah.
your
It's part of
special
the
weapon.
armor itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, giant stature. As a bonus action, you can go large for a minute. Reach increases by 5 feet. Nice. If you're smaller than large, you become large. So similar to, features like this that we see. You can use this as a bonus action a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. Cool. That's fun. And then Wrecking Ball, if you hit a creature that is at least one size smaller than you with the flail, push them up to 10 feet straight away from yourself or pull them no saving throw, no
No
limited
save.
number of times per day, but they do have to be smaller than you. Now you can grow large, but in that case, we're talking medium creatures and smaller only.
Yeah.
But
Um,
still, really
it's
good
it's
in those
it's not bad.
situations. You can build
Um,
around it.
yeah, and it plays into later on as well. I mean, we you might be able to even skip straight to it. It's just on the other side. You can see where the dreadnought goes, so we can talk about it all at once at level
Yeah.
15.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, let's go. Let's um yeah, let's do that. So Dreadnought at 15 perfected armor, the damage die of your armor flail increases to 2d6 from 1d10. So that's a small bump, but it's something.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
In
not great.
addition, when you use your giant stature, your reach increases by 10 feet. Your size can increase to larger, huge, and you gain a fly speed equal to your speed. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so now it's not till level 15, so that's quite late, but still getting to huge, that's really cool. And now you're going to be able to do that push or pull against most enemies that you fight, I would think. I mean,
Yeah,
granted, you're going to run into huge and gargantuan once in a while, but
dragons and
generally,
terrests. Yeah,
yeah,
and the fun thing. I mean, the fun thing. I always think like because this is now 20 feet. You can hit people from 20 feet away now. Because it's a reach weapon as well. So you can fly above people. You can whip them, kind of,
yeah,
pull them up 10 feet
yeah,
and then
yeah,
let them
yeah. And then
fall.
they can
They
fall
land
prone.
prone. They take an
Yeah,
extra D6. It's pretty kind of thorn whip style.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. No,
that's
it's great and it's fun and it feels thematic and flavory. Um, what do we, and we don't get anything else though for
there's
that. That's
nothing
pretty
else
much it.
new. The armor replication feature, it's newly called that, but it's just the same as before. It works the same as the old one did. Basically, you get to one of your infusions, you got to add it to your armor. Now
Right.
you just get an extra magic item, but it has to be an armor. So
Okay.
essentially, you can +1 armor or adamantine armor,
Okay.
one of those.
So you get
Um,
even an additional magic item that you can create as long as it's armor. And that
as
I
long as it's
like
an
that
armor, yeah.
because it was a little wonky the way that you'd be like, well, I'm infusing my helmet, but it has to be a helmet infusion. Does it have to be like one of the things from the infusion table that specifically are for helmets? Can I craft a magical helmet? Like, I don't know. There were some weird things there. Um,
Yes, simplicity's sake, yeah, it might be
Here,
a better one.
here is though, to me, this is a big, big deal, and it makes me super sad. So again, like getting back to the infusions versus crafting magic items, right? Like Thunder Gauntlets are awesome, and they're like that quintessential thing about the Guardian, right? That you get to like
Yeah,
punch somebody and now they have disadvantage on attacks against anyone but you. Um, but if I can't infuse them to give them a +1 to hit and damage like I used to be able to, now like you're gonna find a +1 magic weapon and it's gonna be like, well, but I want to do the thing with my Thunder Gauntlets where I'm kind of taunting the enemy, but now I'm less likely to hit them and I'm not gonna do as much damage. Like, and sure they scale damage wise, but like if
yeah, they
I'm
go up
not,
to 2d8 at level 15 now.
and that's nice. But
Oh
if
no,
I'm
they don't.
not,
It's only
it's
up to
just a
1d10. I'm sorry.
1d10.
Yeah, it's not even 2d. It's I thought it doubled. No, it's just
That's one
an
more
extra
point of damage.
1d8. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's much worse than I remembered. Yeah.
And in
Um,
addition, when a huge or smaller creature you can see ends its turn within 30 feet, reaction or magically force them to make a strength save or pull them 25 feet. Um, yeah, that's cool
sure.
and it's
Yeah, it's
fun.
pretty cool. It's sort of a
And
magnet thing going on, isn't it?
yeah,
Um,
um, but that's they used to have something like that before perfected armor.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that
Also,
frustrates me.
your thunder gauntlets are melee, so you've got to hit them with a ranged weapon,
Yeah.
then pull them
Uh,
towards you, and then right.
The dam In addition, when a huge or
You
small creature you can see ends its turn within 30 feet, you can take a reaction to magically
you
force
don't
them to
hit
make
them,
a
right?
strength
Yeah, yeah. You
save,
use the reaction. Sorry. I
and
thought you had
then
to
they
hit them
get
first.
pulled,
No,
and
you're
then
right.
you can hit them
Then you can hit them with the reaction. Yeah.
when they come in. Um, yeah, I feel like the biggest takeaway for me right now from this whole thing is the infusions versus create magic items, and I appreciate why they did it, but I like my biggest feedback I think is going to be keep infusions, keep the infusions thing, but just let them work on
On anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
on anything,
Yeah. No, I think you've really
including
talked me
magic
around on that.
items.
I completely agree. For reasons like this, yeah. But
Because yeah, this is the soul knife problem. This is the shadow
it needs to
blade
scale
spell
to
problem.
hit.
Like
Yeah, it
yeah,
needs to scale with the to hit.
yeah,
Yeah, because yeah, the extra damage is nice, but you know, at 15th level, you honestly might be looking at a +3 weapon.
yeah,
And the difference between a +3 is a lot to give up for
yeah.
a taunt effect, you know.
Right.
Um,
For one more
what
damage, a D10 instead of a D8. And the other thing, sorry, about these gauntlets that I was really hoping they would fix, and it doesn't look like they have. These are simple melee weapons, right? Each of the armor's gauntlets are simple melee weapons, but guess what? They're not
you
light.
can
And
oh,
so
so you can't.
you can't dual wield them, rules as written, right?
Yes.
And not only that, but they've changed the dual wielder feat so that it doesn't work the same. It used to be that, well, you take the dual wielder feat and now you can punch with both of your fists. Not anymore. The dual
Can't
wielder
even do
feat
that now.
does not
Yeah.
say that you can like dual wield non-light weapons, essentially. So
Yeah.
now there's no
Yeah.
way to actually like punch with both of your hands. You
It
can
should
choose
honestly
which one to
it
do, but
should let you use them in place of unarmed strikes, if anything, shouldn't it? Like,
yeah,
wouldn't it be wonderful that if a monk could use these, you know, like that feels right on brand, like a monk with like electrocutioner style gloves.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I want to
um,
play like my big fantasy for the Guardian is Vi from Arcane,
yeah,
League of
exactly.
Legends, right?
She's got to
I want to be
be,
in there, boom, 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 and it's
yeah,
like, no,
brawling.
you might
Yeah, a
as well
real,
wear a
yeah,
shield because you're only going to be able to punch with one
yeah.
hand on your turn, and that frustrates me a lot. Okay, so there's my big feedback.
I was
Everybody
going to say
else,
the
go
yeah,
give
the
the
one thing
feedback.
that my comment section identified, which I kind of missed, because I think I was kind of like impressed. I was impressed with the Dreadnought initially. I was like, oh, this is fun. It's an extra thing. But I think they did raise a good point that th- apart from the wrecking ball feature affecting creatures that are smaller than you, your
Mm,
increase in size doesn't really change much. You get no
mhm,
damage increase
mm-mm.
beyond a 5 foot range. And I think it wouldn't hurt if you did an extra D4 damage
Yeah, just like
for being big.
with the enlarge. spell.
With the enlarged spell, yeah, without getting the extra damage, it's actually pretty small. The benefit
Yeah.
really, it's just a flavor thing and 5 feet of reach, and that's all you get.
Yeah.
So
5 feet of
um,
reach, and it's
I think
flavorful.
they could push that a little further, like they do with
Yeah.
the giant barbarian. I think you get a bit extra damage on your hits as a giant barbarian.
Yeah. I
I'll have
mean,
to double check that.
it does more damage than the other weapon options. It's the hardest hitting of all of them, but you know, a D10 versus a D8 is not
Yeah,
really anything to write home
bludgeoning.
about.
Bludgeoning is probably better than well, magical bludgeoning. I don't know if it would count as magical bludgeoning, but yeah. I mean, that's
I
the
don't
thing. It
think
probably
that's
wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't.
well,
Yeah.
all signs point to
Yeah. Okay. There
that
you go.
that
Yeah.
being done away with.
So maybe that's less important actually then. Okay.
Yeah.
There is only one more. There's only one more change in the entire book actually. In the
Oh,
entire UA because the battle master is identical.
the infiltrator's the same.
The
The,
infiltrator gets 2d6 now.
okay, so
They
they
have
get a little
2d6
bump.
damage at level 15. So they actually do double the damage of the
Got
thing.
it. Artillerist.
Yeah, the artillerist gets I think your explosive cannon does slightly more, but the main thing about the artillerist, just to like rattle through it while we're here, is that
Yeah.
you get to choose your cannon's ability every turn.
Right.
You don't
I
make
heard
a
that. And that
flamethrower
is
cannon.
awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So you can have the flamethrower going. You need healing, one turn off to heal,
Yeah.
bam, back to flamethrowing. I think that's much better.
That's way better. But the numbers are the same as far as like the damage that the flamethrower does or the
Yeah, it's
temporary
all
hit
just
points that the
2d8.
protector does.
They go up to 3d8 at level 11,
Okay.
I think. But yeah,
I feel like that could probably be stronger. But the versatility is really nice.
I certainly think the protector could be stronger. 1d8 temporary hit points. I think that could be
Yeah.
2d8 as well. I think they could just be 2d8 down the line.
Yeah. Although a 10-foot emanation, well, I mean, 10 foot
I
isn't
suppose, yeah, it's every
isn't
creature
big,
now that you think.
but
Yeah.
but you
And
can
it
get
grants
a couple.
itself. Yeah, it grants itself. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But still, yeah, I don't think that buffing that would be again like maybe add artificer level in there potentially so that
Somewhere,
it
yeah.
scales, you know, more nicely. Um, oh, and I did like the explosive cannon that you can detonate it like as a reaction. He talked about that, right? Like
Oh, did it
when
not used to be a reaction? Did it just happen before? Now
when
it's now you,
well when it's reduced, so it says, hold on, let's see. When it's reduced to 0 hit points, um, as an action, you can command the cannon to detonate if you're within 60 feet of it. So this just says when it's reduced to 0 hit points, you can take a reaction to command the cannon to detonate.
Oh, this is so much better.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I thought it. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's terrible. Yeah. The old one is very poor. This is much better.
It would be nice if I could just use a reaction to command it to detonate, whether it hit 0 hit points or not. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, I'm going to intentionally send this out because you used to be able to do that. You could just like, as it would cost your action, so that was way too expensive. But still, like you'd kind of intentionally now you kind of have to go, well, I hope that it dies
yeah.
so that I can
that's it.
do what I want to do here. And they did increase the
that's-
damage a little bit too to 3d10 from 3d8. It's not huge,
3d10
but
from 3d8.
but anyways, it's a little better. It's a little better. So just the only thing that I'm seeing with this steel defender with the battlesmith, sorry, is I mean, tool proficiency now allows the artificer to craft weapons faster. Okay, cool. Steel defender just has its hit points and its force empowered rend adjusted. So, you know, the hit points they're basically the same. I mean, it's 5 plus 5 times your artificer level instead of 2 plus your intelligence modifier plus 5 times your artificer level. Like that's such an inconsequential change that I don't know why they even bothered, but that's fine. I guess it's going to be better at low levels and probably worse at high levels.
Yeah, you'll feel it when it goes down to like 1 hit point over, and you'll be like, oh, if we were using the 2014,
oh man,
we had 2 more hit points back then.
Yeah,
I will never recover.
Force empowered rend used to be a D8 plus proficiency bonus in force damage. Now it's a D8 plus 2 plus your intelligence modifier. So
it's pretty big.
Probably better. Yeah, I mean that's better almost all the time. Pretty much all the time. You know, if you've got an intelligence modifier.
It's exactly. As long as you're not minus intelligence, this is going to hit harder. Right. It's still not huge damage, is it at all? Really?
No. And if that's all that the Battlesmith got. I mean, to be fair, the Battlesmith was in a better place than most subclasses. Um, but like this Steel Defender to me, you know, if something is a Steel Defender, then it seems to me like it should do a decent job at like being a defender, like defending, protecting, trying to,
Yeah.
and it has this one reaction that's kind of a little soft taunt reaction, right? Where it's like, if somebody gets attacked within 5 feet
Can impose
against
disadvantage.
somebody
Yeah.
else, you can impose disadvantage against that attack roll. But it's like they didn't change that. To me, that was the one place where they could have really maybe amped up. So like maybe let it affect that creature for its turn. Let it be something that I can do more than just once as a reaction. Like
Yeah.
I tried
Or
to build
maybe it
around
could
this and build like
maybe it could
a
literally take the hit as well. Rather than
yeah,
just imposing disadvantage, let it
yeah,
actually just absorb, let it take that critical hit for you, like
sure,
really
sure.
give it some
Yeah, I like that a lot actually. Or maybe do something similar to the what's the spell? The where you take half the damage. You
the
give
emboldening
them up.
bond, or is that what is that one? Is it the other one?
It's
Something
bond.
like that.
It's not emboldening. Anyways,
No,
I'm not
emboldening
good at
bond's the
thinking on
correct
the fly.
bond. Warding bond, right?
Warding bond, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them do a warding bond kind of effect on you where they take half the damage. And I mean, why not let it be like you can designate one creature, right? And then that creature now has resistance to all damage and the defender
The
takes
takes the same.
takes that
Yeah.
same amount. It might kill the defender off pretty quickly, but hey, for 2 or 3 attacks, it would
Yeah, I mean that would probably
defend
fit
you.
the role more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
as opposed to once a turn, like once a round, if it's an attack
you're
against
standing right
that's
next to it.
somebody right next to it, then on one single attack they have disadvantage. That to me is just kind of like it's
Yeah,
not
it's
enough.
true.
It needs to be a better defender, I think.
Still, it's yeah, like I said, the I always think the Battlesmith it was good. The
Yeah.
problem it had, maybe this is just for me. Problem Battlesmith has is it always feels like it's that class that blade singers take. It's the 3 levels you take as a blade
Yeah.
singer.
So you can
And
attack with
it's
your
kind of like,
intelligence.
is that what's your purpose? You blade singers take you for 3 levels, and they never use the steel defender. They but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a bad subclass.
No,
And
no, no.
I personally like pet subclass. I like having a D&D companion. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah,
Um,
but that is with that is the pretty much the Artificer in a nutshell.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I already kind of mentioned it earlier when it kind of came out naturally, but I think this is there's none of these changes that I despise. Like
Hmm.
I just think they needed to go further.
Yeah.
Especially with the Alchemist. I would like to see them go further.
Yes.
And maybe I would like some clarification on the Artificer spell list situation. But
Sure.
personally, I really
For
hope
the
that
level 11.
yeah, the level 11 feature. I hope that they do allow it. And I think in my games, I would allow that. I think that's very funny and fun. Yeah, well, it's
Um,
always lovely to hang out, bro. For real. Like
it's so great to chat
whenever
with
they
you,
drop
Will.
a UA, I'm down to jump in. So
Okay. Thanks
yeah.
for giving me some time and doing this with me. And everybody else,
No,
make
I
sure you
love it.
go and watch Will's video that he put out earlier
Yeah, it's
today.
like this, but worse
I
and
will
full of
link to
more
it right here. I'll
misinformation.
link to it in the video description. And yeah, if you don't, I mean, if you've watched this for an hour and a half or however long this is,
Yeah.
what's an extra 12 minutes? We, for those who don't know, are planning on hanging out again later this week.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, we're going to be doing another one shot. If you missed the first one shot that we did about a month ago, the Winnie the Pooh themed one shot that we did on Jeremy Logomancy's, well, for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, we
Yeah, Make a
raised
Wish. Yeah, I
raised a
think
bunch
we
of money.
raised $9,000.
Yeah,
Like I didn't really think about it at the time. I was like, oh wow, but that's incredible, isn't it?
that's
You guys
awesome. Yeah,
put up $9,000.
people.
I mean,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it was super fun,
This
and we set a goal that if as an organization the organization hit 10K in donations, that we would do a part two. We'd do another one shot. And so we're coming back and we're going to do another one. And it's really fun. It's really great. It's going to be me, you, it's going to be Chris, Treant Monk. It's going to be Dungeon Dad. And then we've got somebody new joining us this time. Maria Bruista, who
Maria,
don't know, but I'm looking forward to meeting.
Yeah, this will be the first time I'm meeting them too, but I know they've done work with James before that they've done live streams before. So it'll be a lot of fun.
So this is going to be a bluey themed game instead of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, the Australian dogs. Yeah.
Yes, I am playing.
The wolf pack is in action. I'm
playing Bandito instead of Bandit for copyright purposes.
Oh, cool.
And
are you a barbarian this time?
I'm gonna be a barbarian. I'm gonna be the build that I just released on my channel yesterday.
Oh, cool. There you go. I can watch. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're gonna be a rogue.
Yeah, I'm gonna try the new the magic the thief rogue because I haven't yet had the chance to really. That was my favorite from the new PHB upgraded subclasses.
I hope that we get a lot of donated magic items.
Yes,
so you can make use
I'll be right there.
That.
Yeah, to use them as a bonus action. Yeah, very much power gaming the format.
and just in case you don't know, like you can actually affect the game. So you if you're watching, you make a donation and you can like give us magic items or give us a number of like D6s to add to our rolls, or you can actually, if we're too powerful, you can give them to the bad guys, and so then they have magic items and bonuses to their.
Someone gave Chris a Treant Monk. They gave a what was it, like a ring of wishes, right? Like he got to cast wish last game, so it gets kind of how crazy.
We ended the campaign. Yeah. I at one point a donation was brought in and required me to sing anytime I cast a spell, I had to like sing the spell. And I think Taryn, Indestructible Boy, he's not going to be with us this time, but he had to he could only speak in puns based on or dad jokes or something like that. Anyway,
yeah, it was really good.
It's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. It's really
a good
chaotic.
cause.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on both my channel and Will's channel for links and notifications on how to tune in. It's going to be Friday at noon Mountain Time, which I think is -6 GMT or -7.
It's the early evening for me. So yeah.
Okay.
We'll catch everybody. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks so much. It's always so nice to just hang out with you, dude. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll see you next time they drop a U. I'll see you Friday, and then I'll catch you next time they drop a U. Have a great Christmas, man.
Okay, you too, man. Merry Christmas.
Cool. In a bit.
Yeah.